Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be going over how I got absolutely destroyed and took my biggest loss that I've ever taken, which was a 5-figure loss. And to be honest, after it happened, I knew that I was going to have to do a video on it, even though deep down I really didn't want to, because things have been really good. The run has been really good. I mean, I took a very small account, 3,000, brought it to over 100, so everything felt great. And then all of a sudden, yesterday happened, and I knew that just kind of putting my journey out there, kind of sometimes the judgment that you can have and the feeling of almost like maybe letting people down or letting myself down and just making a huge mistake from some of the bad trades that I took yesterday. And it just goes to show and continuously reminds me that nobody is invincible. So when things are really good, always have to be on your toes that there could be something coming around the corner. So just have to be careful. Can't get too comfortable. Can't be too complacent because you never know. The moment you slip up just a little bit, that can be the day where things get pretty bad. And that's exactly what happened to me. So even after having 4 years of experience, still always learning lessons and getting slapped in the face. Got a little too confident because December was a great month and I had an extremely high win rate and the market humbled me real quick. So some of the things I'm going to talk about in this video is just some of the takeaways after experiencing a big loss. Obviously go over the trades themselves that led to the disaster, show the P&L, and then talk about some of the things that I've done and will continue to do to deal with this moving forward. Before I get into the trades themselves, I want to talk about why I think this actually happened. Like I mentioned before, December was a fantastic month and I had an incredibly high win rate. And I think when you take a lot of trades and almost every single one of them is a winner, you almost don't even remember what it's like to take a big loss. And maybe in the back of my mind, just not even thinking that, it was going to happen anytime soon. And at that moment, that's when things can kind of start to become dangerous. So I was very confident, feeling very good about my trading. And when I can get into that state, sometimes that's where I can be super stubborn and patient if something does not go my way, because I get that feeling of just give it a couple more minutes and it'll come back. And then the moment that I'm in a trade that doesn't come back, that's what can lead to just disaster. And another thing is my account started to become a decent size. It was over $100,000. And I think when you look at that number, I started to think that, hey, I have some cushion here. There's no loss that's really going to take me out. I don't have a small account anymore, so I can play the game and don't have to worry too much because now I have a decent amount of cash. And that is a scary spot to be in. So I've realized that just continuously growing your account and not ever really taking out a decent chunk is not the smart thing to do. And then with a bigger account comes the need to feel like I constantly have to push it. I have to always be working on sizing up and leveling up and taking things to the next level. And don't get me wrong, that's great. I'm always trying to get better as a trader, but realizing that sometimes if I'm at a really good spot, trading a size that I feel very comfortable with, there's no need to rush out of that. I definitely got caught up in watching videos of people talking about always sizing up and even following some people on Twitter who trade really big size and wanting to get to their level and then feeling like I constantly have to push myself in order to do that. So I just needed a bit of a reminder that this is a very personal journey. Trading is very tough, and regardless of what everybody else is doing, it's all about doing what works best for me. And if that means staying at a relatively small size compared to everybody else, that's okay. And also when I trade decent size, I'm guilty like everybody else where sometimes I can freeze and I do not get out of losers as quickly as I should, simply because I know that red number is really big. So I wait a couple minutes and then that's where everything can get really bad. And that's exactly what happened to me. And those were some of the reasons on why I think it kind of all added up and happened yesterday. So now after going through it, these are some of the things that I'm going to do to deal with it and kind of get myself back on track. First thing I did after is I realized my account got a little too big, probably a little too fast. So I wired a nice chunk out, reset my account to $75,000. And just to prove that this obviously is not a video game, I paid my car off in full. So even though the loss really sucked, I did have a great year last year, and that was one way to reward myself, was just to clear that debt. And in the future, if I start to have exponential growth in my account, at some point, I need to always take a very large chunk out. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is obviously trade smaller. I usually trade anywhere from 5 to 10. I was trying to size up and trade 10 on Tesla, and that's where the problem came from. Now the main focus is going to be 3 to 5. And even more shorter term, the main focus is going to be 3 for a little bit. And then the next main thing that I'm going to do is just be okay with where I'm at, not feel the need to constantly have to push myself, size up every chance that I get, not worry about what other people are doing in their journey, and just focus on being pretty comfortable with where I'm at. Yes, I want to make a lot of money, but at the same time, there is a psychological aspect to this. So making sure to stay healthy mentally too with bigger size, comes higher stress. So even though I may not make ridiculous amounts of money, there's still plenty of money to be made trading 3 to 5 contracts and make a good living. Okay, so with that being said, let's get into the trades, starting with Tesla. Tesla was trading kind of flat. There wasn't real clear direction, and it's very extended on the daily. So when Tesla is in a range like that where it's not clearly telling you which way it could possibly go, what I like to do is I just like to mark prior day's high, which was 868, prior day's low, which was 827.34, pre-market high, which was 861, and pre-market low, which was 839.10. And really what I was going to do was just try to be patient and then let Tesla tell me what it wants to do, and then try to get a good entry around some of those key technical levels and look for a technical pattern that I like, which is the opening range break or some sort of flag pattern. So Tesla had a very nice push off the open, pulled back, held the 9, got back above VWAP. Looks like a very nice flag pattern with high a day above, also knowing that pre-market high is above. So that is a setup that I will take most of the time. The setup wasn't the problem. It was that I got long right around 860, and when it started to show some weakness, I did not cut the trade quick. So I was guilty of not listening to my most important rule. If it doesn't go quick, just get out. And unfortunately, I got caught in this. So a very nasty move, and I eventually took the loss, and it was a pretty big size loss. And then after that, I wanted to see if there was going to be a possible short trade on Tesla, and there turned out to be one, and I actually caught it. So Tesla had the huge sell-off, aggressive bounce, failed to get above VWAP, came back towards almost low a day. Knowing low a day was right around 845, I'm sure a lot of people were stuck up there just like me. When this broke lows, I actually took it short. And I made a decent amount of money. I did obviously not hold this whole move, but I got a decent quick move. So had I cut my loss quick on that first long, I would have been green on the day. But instead, I let that first loss get pretty bad. I got some back on that short. And instead of walking away, which it still would have been a bad day, but nowhere near as bad, I continued to trade and totally got chopped up over trading. And this is a great example of why I try my best to focus on the first 30 minutes. And if I can catch a couple quick moves, I'm better off just calling it a day. Because when Tesla broke pre-market lows with prior day low below, I thought that there was more downside room. And this is where I got into trouble. So kind of having this belief that it has the possibility to sell off more and I want to be a part of that. I tried to short right here, got stopped out. Tried to short right here again, got stopped out, and then tried one last time right there and got stopped out, and it just added up to be huge losses. So instead of taking those 2 trades and being 1 for 2, still being red but not really bad disaster day, I pressed it. I got emotional. I wanted to try to get that money back, and these 3 losses just totally beat me up. So those were the trades on Tesla, and then I took one more trade on Airbnb. The Airbnb technicals, nice day 1 move off the 9, off the 20, also came up to that prior pivot. So knowing if it gets above that prior day high, there's maybe possible more upside and more momentum. That prior day's high was 163.88, and also knowing that all-time high is 174.97, and it's a recent IPO, and with what's been going on in the IPO market, maybe it could go a little crazy. Airbnb went straight through prior day's high off the open, but I was obviously caught in Tesla. I came to this later on, so I had a very nice period of consolidation, held above VWAP, and then got towards high of day, knowing that that all-time high was above. And I traded too big a size because I was revenge trading and trying to get those losses back. So I ended up getting long right around 174 and got a very nice move. So that rule of take the quick move, I didn't listen to, got over 2 points. And instead of taking this, which would have been a nice trade, it wouldn't have gotten me green on the day, but still would have been a quick win. I ended up holding this and getting caught in this nasty pullback right here for another big loss. So as you can see, I did everything wrong. Didn't take my quick winners, held those losers way too long, and traded way too big a size. And after it was all said and done, I ended up losing $14,803, which is just absolutely disgusting. Not easy to look at, and in a way, even kind of embarrassed that I let it get that bad. But it's over, it happened, so the only thing that I can do is just accept it. And if there's any lessons to be learned, some very expensive ones, it's all the ones that I talked about before. There's no place for overconfidence in the market. Growing an account exponentially fast can be a bad thing, at least for me, so I just need to make sure that every now and then I take a large chunk out if I do it again. And also making sure that I don't focus too heavily about what other people are doing and not trying to constantly size up and trade bigger any second I can. If I'm a lot more comfortable and much more on top of my game psychologically at 3 to 5 contracts, then there's no problem staying there for a while. So that's how I'm going to go about dealing with it and hopefully coming back even stronger. So that's it. That was my absolute disaster day recap. Wasn't easy to talk about, but I knew that it had to be done, and it just goes to show the reality that sometimes trading can be very brutal. So I appreciate you watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.